This is Frank Islam, Chairman and CEO of FY Investment Group, and your host of Washington Calling, where we interview leading voices from business and politics that impact you, the viewer. Today, we have a distinguished guest, and his name is Dr. Anil Rajvanshi. He's also known as what we call a spiritual engineer. His pioneering rural development work for the last 3 decades has spanned a whole spectrum of areas affecting the lives of rural population. He established the Energy and Sustainable Development at Nimbkar Agriculture Research Institute, and he has received many prestigious awards. Thank you for coming to our show, Anil. Nice to see you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Frank.
You're
I'm
most
really
welcome.
happy. Yes.
So, Anil, your story and journey is a remarkable success and fascinating story. Please tell us your life journey for our global audience. Your story should resonate well with millions of people across the globe. And it says that if you aim high, work hard, you can achieve your dream. And I hope
Yes.
your hope lives on and your dream shall never die. Uh, you know, uh, Thank you for serving the humanity and giving your helping hands to those who need the most, who are the vulnerable, or who are socially and economically disadvantaged.
Thank you very much. I was born and raised in Lucknow, which is the capital of Uttar Pradesh. I did my schooling there in St. Francis. Then I went to IIT Kanpur to do my BTech in mechanical engineering in 1967. I finished my BTech and MTech from IIT Kanpur. Then, as most of the Indians from IITs do, I went to United States to do my PhD. I went to do my PhD under a very famous professor in solar energy, and I did my PhD in mechanical engineering in University of Florida,
Wow,
Gainesville, and then I taught there for 2.5 years.
wow,
And before this madness, this janoon, this thing that I felt that with my knowledge, I will change India. So I came back. India is a very ancient civilization of thousands of years. India did not change, but it changed me. And that has been my story. I
well,
came back.
so you came
I,
back and Anil, you do try to couple your high technology and learning skills to promote the rural development in backward areas of India. You remind us that technology plays a significant role in the development of the rural areas. Can you shine a bright lights by giving example to illustrate your thoughts?
yes, for example, when I came back, I saw that the people were still using the lanterns, which were running on kerosene. It was very polluting. Kerosene was imported almost wholly from Russia in those times in 80s. And then I said, what can we do to produce our own fuel and also to improve this lantern, which had not been changed for the last 100 years. So I did a very detailed work in improving the lantern and running it on alcohol, which we could grow and which we could produce locally. And that pioneered the whole concept of cooking and lighting using ethanol, which became a very big program. Not only World Bank and other organizations have taken it up now. And I then started looking at what different materials we should use, and we set up the world's largest program of using sweet sorghum, which is a multi-purpose crop from the same piece of land. You get fuel and food,
Wow.
and then we did that work. So what in all this process, I felt that high technology is the answer in solving the problems of rural India. And in 1980s, this was a very new concept. Now everybody talks in the world about using high technology for rural development. In fact, it is called as a frugal innovations, but that at that time it was a very very novel concept. So we did so many things. In for example, the this whole e-rickshaw was
That's what I
started
was
by
going
me.
to ask you. Yeah.
Yes,
Tell
the
us a
whole
little bit about
e-rickshaw.
that.
a whole e-rickshaw was started by me because of the fact that I came from Lucknow, where the only mode of transport in my when I was young was rickshaws, and
Right.
I felt that as a mechanical engineer, I should be able to improve it. So when I started talking with the rickshawalas, they said, "Can you please give us a motor?" And I felt that rather than giving them an internal combustion motor, can I give them a totally clean green motor? And
Right.
at that time in 1990s, the electric motors and batteries had just started coming in. So I think I pioneered the whole concept of e-rickshaws. MIT in Boston used to publish a journal, and they put
Right.
my rickshaw as on the main cover when I developed the first e-rickshaw anywhere in the world.
My
It is
goodness. I'm so
it is
proud of
copied
you. I'm
and it
so
is now
proud of your
copied all over the world.
yes. And it
So
still works?
yes, I have my first rickshaw which I made in 2000, and it's now almost 20 years. And it has logged around 50,000 kilometers, and it runs very beautifully.
Now, you also founded or you're involved with Nimbkar Agriculture Research Institute. Tell us a little bit
Yes,
about what it is, what's the goals and objectives, and how, where is it located, and how do you sustain yourself in terms of the funding?
this Nimkar Agriculture Research Institute was founded by my father-in-law, Mr. B.V. Nimkar, and it was started in 1968. B.V. Nimkar set up the first private seed company called Nimkar Seeds with the help from Rockefeller Foundation. So
Okay,
we have a very long history of American involvement.
associations, yes.
My wife's grandmother was an American, and the Daughters of Revolution.
My goodness.
So my wife is basically a descendant of Robert Morris.
Robert Morrison?
Robert Morris,
Yeah,
the man who signed the only three of them who signed the both Declaration of Independence and the um, uh, I think the Constitution.
wow. You should be proud of
Yes, yes,
your heritage and your history,
yes,
especially your wife's. That's not
yes,
you,
yes.
but
So Mr. Nimkar started the institute in 1968 as the first private agriculture research institute in India. So we are now 50 years old, and it is situated in the small rural town of Faltan, which is in western Maharashtra. We
okay.
do work in the areas of agriculture, renewable energy, animal husbandry, and sustainable development. Most of our funding comes from sponsored projects, both by companies, then CSR funding, and then government funding. But it's always hand to mouth existence because very few people like to give money for research.
Right. Same thing
And
true in the United States.
yes, yes, but in India it is worse because most of the funding now is going towards to the government institutions. In fact, we just got a project from DST, Department of Science Technology, and they told us we are the only NGO they have funded. So it's not a very easy way to get funds.
I was intrigued by the concept of rural restaurant. What is the
Yes.
rural restaurant and what does it do? And
Uh, when
tell
we
us a little
were
bit about it.
yes, when we were working with these very poor people, when we developed this new type of land stove, lantern cum stove. This land stove produces light, and in the heat of the light, it cooks a complete meal for a family of five.
Wow.
So we introduced this in the non-electrified huts, around 25 of them, and we used to go and interact with them, ask them what do they do, what are the problems, etc. And we found that most of these women who work for 6 to 7 hours in the sun in the fields, they come so tired, and yet when they come home, they are supposed to cook
Cook.
a complete meal for the family of five or six, whatever it is.
Right.
Now, nobody would be in there, would like to cook when they're so tired. So
Right.
we felt, and then we started asking them the problems, and we found they were spending a lot of money on the medicines because they were getting sick all the time because their food was very poor. And so we felt that the best thing to do is to have rural restaurants where they can all go and eat. They will get good food and so they don't have to cook at home. The misery of the chore of the cooking will go away. At the same time, there will be less pollution. And my idea came from the fast food restaurants. I said I'm not going to give fast food to them, but a simple thali,
Yes,
which will, because for a
nutritious.
poor person, the best medicine is a food.
I agree.
So if you give them good wholesome food, then all their problems go away. And I'm very happy to say that this was the starter for Amma's Kitchen in 2013.
Oh, okay.
And now the Maharashtrian Shiv Shahi food. And the interesting part is they all copied it from my work. In fact, it was so uncanny that in Maharashtra, they have put the figure as 10 rupees per thali, which I had put in my paper in 2012.
So I have two questions. How do you sustain yourself when you get the money to feed these people, which is a wonderful thing to do? And can you put this thing in Lucknow and UP because they really need this kind of help?
Yeah, well, see, I suggested that this should be the excellent CSR activity,
Right.
corporate social responsibility,
That's a very well
because
said.
because providing good food or providing simple food to these people, and in fact, all the today what is happening in the all this migrant labor
Yeah.
problem, this would have been solved if people would have looked at it from that point of view, both the government and the corporate sector.
It's,
When I talked with a lot of these corporate people, they said 10 rupees per thali is a very doable goal, and 10 rupees is nothing. You get a nice thali for that.
wow. I'm so energized and excited what you're doing. You talk about the migrant rural crisis because of the COVID-19. I know
Yes.
it is a global crisis. I know it's an unprecedented upheaval that we hold dear to our daily lives. Their struggle and their sacrifice, our struggle and our sacrifice. And we are in this together. So tell us a little bit about what are you doing and how do you see your work with in mitigating the migrant crisis?
Well, first of all, we don't have too many migrants here in our area.
But
Um, uh,
Bihar and other part of the world has it.
yes, they have.
Other
Right,
part of India.
right. So first thing what we did was to whoever is working with us, we told them to you continue working. We made them have a social distancing, followed all the norms of cleaning their hands and etc., putting the mask, because not only they need money to fill up their stomach, but they also need work for their mental.
Yes,
And so they were all very happy that we never told them to sit at home. So that in our from our point of view, we did for in our institute. And whoever we said to them that if there are some migrants and if they need any help regarding food and etc., they are most welcome. But then we never got any migrants because there are no migrants in this part of the. See, most of the migrants are in the big cities.
such
In
as
big, most of the migrant
outside
laborers
the
were
big
in big
city.
cities,
Yeah,
Pune, Mumbai, etc., who came from Bihar, UP, and so on and so forth. But I feel that there should have been much more humane
yes,
um, mechanisms to
yes,
deal with that.
right.
Most of these people are poor people. If you had just given them a place to stay and food, they would have been happy.
I agree.
They were not asking for money. So that is what I feel should have been done to them.
My heart is broken when I see the misery and what they go and their struggle, what they go through it. Is the
Yeah.
government lending and helping them also to, and they should make use of what you're doing to kind
Well,
of spread.
it'll take some time to find out this big packet that Prime Minister Modi has announced, how it will affect them, what will happen. We are not sure right now, but only time can tell. But I think that misery could have been reduced drastically if right at the beginning it would have been said that please help them. We will give you money because nobody was asking for loans or etc. They were just asking for simple money to feed them. That's all. And feeding does not take too much money.
I agree. I'm with you 100%. So have you made that? Do you think it's incompetence and ineffectiveness, ineptness of the current government?
Well, see, I'm not a part of the government, nor do I. So I sit 1,500 kilometers away from them.
Right.
Whatever I read, I react to it, and it is very difficult to tell when you have a government just like you also have in the United States.
Yes.
Know all. When the top people think that they know everything, the whole wisdom of the world is with them. So it's very difficult to to think
Uh,
and advise them.
you said it very well, and I hope we make the change in the United States, and we are, we will make the change, and we need a
I hope so.
change,
I
and we
hope
need a
so.
new leadership. I want to talk a little bit about you are an inspiring speaker and a writer on spirituality, and you have a strong belief in coupling high technology and spirituality for India's development. So my question to you is, what is the concept of this spirituality that you're talking about it, and what will be your message to the South Asian who wants to follow in your footsteps, especially the young generations? And before we close our conversation, Anil.
Uh, I personally feel that spirituality is nothing else but going deeper inside, knowing yourself. It is not religion. It is beyond caste, creed, religion,
It transcends all
color.
boundary. It
It, it,
transcends
it,
all
it,
boundary. Right.
it
Very well
is
said.
it is it is a human enterprise.
Right.
Each human being is capable of going deeper inside and understanding it. When you do that, it gives you humility. It tells you not to have greed. It reduces your greed. And when you couple that with high technology, then you produce a very sustainable lifestyle and happiness. And I have written extensively on that, spirituality plus technology. In fact, that's my latest book. Spirituality plus technology is equal to happiness. I have made it freely available because I believe that the knowledge should be freely available. In fact, all my books are freely available on the internet because I want the youngsters to read and contemplate and think about these issues. And I believe that if all of us follow this example of spirituality plus technology, high technology, then we all will can lead a sustainable and very happy life. And that, to my mind, should have been the biggest lesson for post-COVID world. If we become sustainable, then we can also become very happy society.
That's a very well said. So if somebody is listening to in this audience who are young and who is full of energy, full of enthusiasm, they want to serve the humanity like this, what would be your message to them in terms of following, not necessarily in your footsteps, but serving the humanity, just like what you're doing?
The this is what the talk I give to a lot of IITians and etc. youngsters.
Right.
I tell them that you do things about which you feel passionate.
Very well said.
You should love doing your things. Somebody should not tell you what to do. And when you look a little, spend time for yourself. Don't be all the time on your laptop or your SMS or doing etc. Because then we have become just like animals. We react. If we contemplate, because human brain is a very huge brain, which is meant for contemplation. When you start contemplating, you start looking deeply, and then you start looking at things from a very different perspective. And when you do that, then you start helping yourself and others surrounding you. And
Very
as
well said.
Gandhiji said, be the change that you want to see. And so,
Yeah, you're absolutely said that. Uh, I just gave a speech at Martin Luther King birthday, and I made that comment that the Martin Luther King got the idea of the nonviolence from Mr. Gandhi when he visited India in 1950, and there's an indelible connection between the two. Uh, so thank you very much for your time, and thank you for all you do to make a profound difference in people's lives. And this is Frank Islam wishing you a great week, and thank you for watching.